The St. Louis Blues had a really bad loss to the Canucks, and it leads me to ask this question that I did not want to ask at all this season, but I have no choice. Is this the same team as last season? This is coming up here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host, Haley Taylor Simon, back at it again with another episode talking to you about all things St. Louis Blues. So on today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about the Blues Canucks game. It was a 5-0 loss to the Canucks, and it was ugly. It wasn't good, and it does raise a lot of questions. Being so, is this the same team as last season? And I'm going to dive deeper into that. And then, of course, how do the Blues move forward after a loss like that? And I'm also noticing a pattern here, which I'm going to get into as well. Before I tell you about this episode and before I go on any further, the hockey community had a really unfortunate loss this past weekend. Adam Johnson was playing the game that he loves, and unfortunately, tragedy took place on the ice. And I just want to give a moment of silence in honor and of memory of Adam Johnson. All right. Thank you, guys. Listen, whenever anything happens in the hockey community, it's definitely important to talk about and to honor. So, Adam was with me in my thoughts in this episode, and I hope you guys as well. So, anyways, before I dive deeper into anything, I just want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. The Blues and the Canucks game was obviously ugly. Everything that I said that would happen this game basically happened. I said Quinn Hughes is going to be an absolute danger against this Blues team because, again, I feel like, okay, and it's funny because, like, Quinn is a defender. So it's not like I expected him to get 2 goals, but he ended up getting 2 goals. So just to give you the overall of basically what happened, first period, Vancouver 1-0 after 40 minutes of play. So after the second period, it was 4-0. And then in the third period, Vancouver made it 5-0. Funny enough, the Blues did better again with their faceoffs, despite the Canucks being a little bit better with the faceoffs. The Blues were at 47%. So that is something where I was a little bit surprised about. This was such an ugly game, I have to tell you. And the Blues had a ton of penalties in the first period, and it was ugly. Bush had hooking, so again, a penalty. Saad had a holding penalty. Taranchenko had a tripping penalty. And then Saad again with a tripping. And this is something that I'm going to dive into. But when your team has 4 penalties in the first period, obviously that is a sign that they're being outplayed. Usually, and this is just what I've noticed with hockey in general, usually if your team is being penalized every 5 seconds, you're probably the team that's struggling and is playing sloppy hockey. So I'm just putting that out there. Second period, the Canucks had 2 penalties, but unfortunately the Blues couldn't capitalize on the power play, being that the Blues didn't score any goals. The third period, it was a little bit back and forth, but again, Braden Shen had a penalty for cross-checking. Taranchenko had another penalty for, what was his? Roughing. And then Torrey Krug had a holding penalty. So, yeah, it was ugly. I mean, let's go think of the positives. The Blues had 27 hits to Vancouver's 11. So playing a little bit aggressive. It just wasn't a good game, and that's what it comes down to. The Blues, they only had 22 shots on net, while Vancouver had 35. And Thatcher D'Amico, who is the Canucks' goaltender, was able to save all of them. It just was a sloppy, sloppy, sloppy game. I just don't understand it though. Um, I will say this. Whenever I have my boy Jordan Binnington in net, I usually feel extremely confident. And it's one of those things where the Canucks at 35, 5-1 in, that is not great, okay? That is an 857 save percentage, which obviously could be better. But at the end of the day, the main problem with this Blues team, and I'm going to get into this a little bit further in the next segment, by the way, it all stems down to the one main core issue. What is that? Take a wild guess. Take a wild guess. Did you say defense? Yes. The defense looked sloppy as ever, if not worse. Probably the worst that this defense has played this season. I saw nothing positive about the defense. I saw sloppiness. I just saw a lot of things that seriously were unexcusable. And I said this would be an issue on Friday's episode, that I don't know if the defense would be able to stop the Canucks' offense. And then ironically enough, defenders were able to score on us from the Canucks. So yeah, that didn't really work out so well for St. Louis. But the Blues really need to focus as well. And I know I'm blaming it a lot on the defense. The offense is to be accountable as well. I mean, listen, if the Blues were able to put up a couple goals in this game, I would say, you know what, they were playing a significantly better team within the Canucks. They got outplayed, but at least, they put up a fight. But I don't know what kind of fight you can put up when you lose 5-0. I understand they had more hits, they were a little bit more physical, but any team can have more hits or be more physical. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the Blues only had 22 shots on net compared to the Canucks' 35, which is a big difference when it goes from 35 to 22. It means that the Canucks defense was able to stop the Blues' offense. But watching that game, it just didn't seem like I was actually kind of surprised it was 22 shots on net, because when I was watching the game, it just seemed like to me, and maybe it was because I was just so tired and disappointed. Like, it was late night hockey. My team is being demolished in front of my eyes. Now I'm combining words. It just seemed to me that the Blues had an opportunity to prove, hey, we might lose this game, but at least we're a hard fighting team, and they just looked amateur on the ice. And I'm not saying this in a way where I'm not going to have hope and faith in them, but I will say that it is very misleading when they do have some great games or playing good hockey, and then all of a sudden the next game that they play, it sucks. And I'm not liking what I'm seeing out of that pattern, and it's definitely I went away for a second, technical issues. We're back. Yeah, the people from Pico are actually outside my place fixing everything. So if my internet cuts out, that's not on me, that's on them. I just got it back too. So I'm like, that's cool. But anywho, that is basically the Canucks game. They got outplayed. They put up no fight. It was ugly. And I'm disappointed. But on this next segment coming up, I'm going to talk about why I think this is the same team as last season. And of course, I proposed the question to you on Twitter at Locked On Blues. And let's go dive into it. Before I dive into it, though, I need to tell you about my friends over at Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying your tickets for your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And of course, our soccer with killer last minute deals. All prices are up front. You can see where you're sitting. And of course, you're going to get the best prices guaranteed every time with Game Time. Personally, I am obsessed with Game Time. Why am I obsessed with Game Time? I'm a very last minute kind of person when it goes to doing events. Like if I'm going to a concert, like it's not going to be until an hour before the show begins where I'm like, I kind of want to go to this. So I use Game Time because there's always tickets available at the low. And the low, it just means low prices. So this is what I want you to do. If you want to take the guessing game out of buying tickets, you want to know where you're sitting, you want the best deals possible, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The Blues are the same team as last season? Question mark, yes. This is a team that has the same problems, and I am sick of it. I am annoyed about it, and I am over it. Wow. I came in hot and angry. Hot because I am fuming still about that loss to the Canucks, and angry because I did not want this to be another season of last season, because last season sucked. Last season was disappointing. Last season was honestly probably some of the worst hockey I've seen out of the St. Louis Blues. And you don't want to go through that again as a fan because you want to see your team putting up a fight. But when your team doesn't do that, it's like a slap in the face because it's like, okay, we knew in the back of our heads this offseason when Army made no real moves besides getting back Sundqvist and acquiring Hayes, this team didn't have anything to help them with the defense yet again. So where do we go from here? What's going on? Why is this the same team as last season? Number one, you guessed it, the defense. The defense has been sucky. And I said this all along. When you have, well, I got like so angry, I almost like threw my computer. When you have most of your players with a no trade clause, NTCs, you have to abide by it. First and foremost, they have it for a reason. But why, in anyone's right state of mind, and I'm coming at you, Doug Armstrong, because I'm genuinely curious about this, why would you make most of your defenders a contract with a no trade clause while they haven't been performing good hockey? If I were you, and I said this before and I will say it again, have those conversations. They might be a little bit uncomfortable. Hey, like, we want you to win a cup. Where would you want to go win it at? I would try moving these guys that are more veterans on the defense to some potential cup contending teams. It's early on in the season, and I know there is a while until that trade deadline, March 8th. But it's not too soon to try to make some moves. I think at this point, I've seen it all. Okay. I haven't seen it all, but I've seen a lot. And from what I have been seeing, it really is a huge indication that this St. Louis Blues team is not going to be a successful team unless they fix up their defense. Anyone could have said that, though. Any single person that watches hockey and has seen the Blues play at least once knows that the defense is their biggest problem. Their blue line sucks. Like, there is no way around it. This is not a good defense. And without a good defense, you're not going to have a good team. And this is the main problem at the end of the day. And this is something that I have been saying for such a long time, not even just on here in Locked On Blues, but before I even did this podcast, I was saying this. If the Blues were able to acquire one or two guys that might be a little bit younger that are solid defensemen, they would be a completely different team. I was upset. I asked you on Twitter at Locked On Blues. I said, for today's episode, one big question: what is this team? Is this a bad team? Is this a decent team? Because I am noticing a pattern here that the Blues will have a fantastic game. Like, they will play so well. They will play with passion. They're going to score. They're going to win. I'm impressed. Then the next game that they play immediately following that game that they played so well in, they don't show up. I mean, they're on the ice, but they're not showing up. So when I'm seeing the Blues play well, I'm like, okay, maybe this is a decent team. Maybe this is a team that, I mean, it obviously has its issues, but maybe it's not going to be as bad. And then that game immediately after when they play well and they're sucky on the ice, I'm like, no, no, no. I know what this team is, and this is a bad team. So Daniel said they're an average team. They can be really good, but for whatever reason, they can't do it consistently. It's exactly a copy and paste from last year so far. I like this so far at the end because it's showing me that Daniel has hope still. And it's funny to me because I'm like the same way as Daniel, where I'm like, okay, it's not even a month into the season, but like this can't be what's going on all season. I'm laughing about it because I am frustrated because any single person that watches the game of hockey knows what the Blues had to do this offseason, and it didn't get done because everybody has a no trade clause, and it's like you can't do anything about it because the guys don't want to get moved. Like, it's not a good situation. James W says Bennington helps make them an average team. Overall, they're playing like a bad team. Yes, because honestly, I'm going to say this. Binner deserves better than this. Bennington deserves better. I I can't believe it. I really can't believe that the Blues are still in the same situation that they were in last season, but it's worse. Why is it worse? Because Ryan O'Reilly isn't here, and like, there's more. Like, I am frustrated. I don't even know how to put it into words. The frustration. But you know what I do know how to put into words? Oh, you're a Kale with that transition. That is right. Because I'm going to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. I know our KC Chiefs yesterday had a bad loss to Broncos Nation, which again just really adds on to this weekend of being a fan in this region. I mean, like, at least we have our soccer team. But like, other than that, it's just icky. Okay? It's icky. It's no good. And we're down bad here. But the Blues, unfortunately, do have to play more hockey this season. And how do the Blues move forward? Well, it's not going to be a pretty game against the Colorado Avalanche as they're playing the Avalanche on Wednesday. Yep. You heard it. The Blues are playing one of the best teams in the league on Wednesday. And I don't think this is going to be a good game for St. Louis. I hate to kind of be like a fortune teller here, but to all my friends over at Locked On Avalanche, congratulations. No, I'm playing. I seriously don't know what else Berube can do with the lineup. I don't think there's anything that he can do that will make this team better with the players that they have. I don't know how the Blues are necessary. I don't have the answers, okay? I am not in the front office. I am not a coach of the team. I literally watch this team and disbelief that this is the team that we have to see yet again. I think that the Avalanche, though, maybe will be a good wake-up call for the Blues. And why is that? Let me explain. The Avalanche are a cup contending team once again, in my personal opinion. I think that last season in the playoffs, it was strange what happened in the playoffs last season. There was no denying that with the Panthers going that far. It was just a really weird playoffs, okay? I think that the Avalanche really are one of the best teams in the NHL this season. And I think when the Blues will be playing again, I mean, granted, I know they played Dallas. Like, I get that they played teams that are good, but the Avalanche is like the real deal. This is a team that has a solid offense, solid defense, great goaltending. They have everything, okay? So maybe for the Blues, they're going to see what the Avalanche are doing on the ice and they're going to say, hey, we want to be on that level where we're able to, lead in games and not always have to struggle, where we're able to score in the first period. I think that the Avalanche in totality will win. I'm going to do, of course, my game preview tomorrow, but I think looking ahead, these players need to be a little bit more motivated. It's cute. I saw that they were doing like a little trick or treat with fans. That's cute and all. But the only treat that I'm seeing is Jordan Binghamton, and the only trick that I'm seeing is thinking that this team would be better than they were last season. It is unbelievable that I am yet again watching a team crumble before my eyes with it being less than a month into the season. And again, this raises some questions. Benner won't be here forever. Will he want to leave? Like, there's so many factors that go into this that do make you think, is the future of the Blues not looking as bright as we thought? It's not looking as bright as I thought. And that is not only disappointing, not only upsetting, but it is disheartening. Again, before I end today's episode here on Locked On Blues, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, I just want to again give my deepest condolences to Adam Johnson's family. And, I can't put into words how tragic this event was, but I hope that something like this never happens again. It's really scary and sad. And I was having a hard time coming up with today's episode because I wanted to honor Adam in a way. And despite, he was never part of this Blues organization, he was a member of our hockey community. And I think any single person that is a member in the hockey community is a part of the family here. So that's how I'm going to end today's episode. I don't know how else to end it. Usually I do a Let's Go Blues at the end, but today I just want to honor Adam Johnson. Bye, guys.